players leave, like, I got nothing against Jaquiz Rogers. Like, I got nothing against Brenden Cooks. Like, I don't watch like the NFL like, oh, Brenden Cook, but wouldn't say obviously I actively root for any of those dudes. But once you're out of the storm, once you're out of the rivalry window, it's like, yeah, all right, that was a fun 2 or 3 years. Let's lay down our swords. But I do have a special place, not only for Oregon guys, but for small town Oregon guys. And so to see Jordan Poyer, and I know that he went to UFC, but to see Hufanga down in San Francisco, coming from Albany, like, and so we were talking about it before the show. Like, when you think of like best football players, like recent football players from the state of, like, small town Oregon's kind of crushing it right now. Because you got Jordan Poyer from Astoria. I wouldn't consider Eugene a small town, but far from a big city. So you got Herbert, who's 5'4" guy. He's from Eugene. Hufanga is he's from a farm in Albany, I believe, which I know Brendan's made that drive. He's been through Albany a handful of times. Yeah, it
smells a lot better without the paper mill.
The paper mill was rough. It was rough.
Just going to be honest. I know it's a 10-year-old joke for those who know, but,
30-year-old joke. Yeah, the paper mill in Albany was rough, but they moved past it. Now it's what? Is it the manufactured home place?
Yes.
Like, that's how you know you're hitting Albany. It's like, I always see, like, and I know why, but, like, I always see, like, there's a big sign when you drive there and you hit Albany, and it says, like, daily tours available, or you know what I mean? Or factory tours daily, something like. And I always think, like, who's taking a tour through that factory? Like, who's driving down I-5 and going, you know what, kids? I got an idea. We're going to go check out this manufactured home factory. They offer daily tours.
When I was a kid, I thought it meant tours of the paper mill.
Oh, that would be even worse. Go right into the belly of the beast. But yeah,
I was a kid. That sign's been there for 25 years. And I was like, oh, is it tours of the paper mill? And Dad's like, no, it's tours of how they make the mobile homes.
Wouldn't it be funny if, like, they actually didn't, like, have tours anymore, but they're like, we can't get rid of that sign. It's just too big. It's too iconic. People are used to it. People are used to that sign. But yeah, like, so obviously Troy sets the mark, being from Douglas, as a 5'4" guy and a football, the 5'4" being kind of a football factory as an area code. And you got Herbert from Eugene, Hufanga, Poyer, even though it's not 5'4", but like Derek Anderson from Scappoose, crush my dreams. But then, like, is Ndamukong Suh, like, and I'm talking recent, and I know, like,
so how far back we allow?
Yeah, that's the
here?
thing. Like,
it's like Oregon State's, one and only Heisman Trophy winner came from Jefferson.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So you got touchdown Terry Baker.
But the 60s are
like Mel Renfro. Like Mel Renfro's from Portland.
Ooh, AC Green, Benson.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten into basketball yet.
I know.
Basketball
is a deep rabbit hole we're getting into.
Because, like, so who is the best 5'4" or non-Portland basketball player? It's got to be Luke Jackson, right? Number 13 pick overall. Back surgeries.
And where'd he come from again?
Cresswell.
Yeah.
Want to know something crazy? Cresswell is, at the time, it was maybe smaller than Winston, where I grew up. I don't know what the dynamics are anymore, but Cresswell, home of Luke Jackson, number 13 pick in the NBA draft, and Mark Few, one of the winningest college basketball coaches of all time, which is why forever and ever and ever, when Ernie Kent would have like a subpar season, Oregon basketball fans like, all right, time for Phil to go get Mark Few. Like, let's go do it here. And Mark Few was like, yeah, I'm not leaving Gonzaga. I don't know if you see what I've got here. I've got, what do they call it? Oh, yeah, perfect situation where I can go to the Final Four. I can legitimately win a national title. Hasn't, but can. He could legitimately win a national title at Gonzaga and no pressures, no outside influences. He runs the show. Spokane's beautiful. You get out like Spokane Falls, they like just the areas around there. Like Mark Few, like, oh, yeah, I'm pretty much guaranteed to win my conference every single year. I recruit at a national level. I bring in 4- and 5-star guys to Spokane, Washington. I've turned Gonzaga into one of the cool schools, and I'm guaranteed to win my conference every single year. What? And I want to leave for what? To go coach in Eugene, where I grew up, where if I have 2 subpar seasons in a major conference, y'all gonna run me out of town? No, thank you.
I mean, you also got.
I'm gonna go ahead and stay here.
So we're talking basketball, but like 2 more guys, like just across sports. Like obviously, Kellen Clemens came from Burns.
Boom.
Obviously, Jacoby Ellsbury came from
Ellsbury,
Madras.
the Madras White Buffalo.
Yeah, man. Madras was not very big back then.
It's not very big
Still
right now.
not very big. But,
not very big right now. I drive through Madras all the time because
it's on the way.
Go to Bend. So I go to Bend all the time, and boom, up and over. And like Madras is kind of, other than like government camp, right? When you go past Timberline.
Yeah.
Like Madras is like first check. You're like, all right.
Made it over the mountain.
Making some progress.
Made it through the reservation, all the way over to.
Making some progress here in Madras. And every time I drive through, I think of Jacoby Ellsbury, and I think of former radio producer who's not listening because he refuses to do morning radio, Eric Ringering. Shout out. Ringering gets a shout out on a Thursday morning. But
interesting refusal.
Well, it wasn't an actual. I think there was just like, mornings aren't quite my jam.
Gosh,
you know what I mean?
Classic. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's anybody else who comes to mind. I mean, just in recent memory, who have just impressed. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a handful of baseball guys. Like I go back, like my time, like Scott Brocious was from here. Scott Brocious, World Series MVP.
What can Adley's ceiling be?
Adley might. We've talked about this before. Like in terms of current athletes actively playing, it's between Herbie and Rutschman. Like I don't think anybody else is in the conversation of people like from here currently playing in any major sport. It's Adley, Rutschman, and it's Justin Herbert. In the conversation is Poyer and Hufanga, but that's about it.
But that's a different, totally different level.
And
like you said.
because Rutschman's an all-star. He's like the best catcher in Major League Baseball right now.
Already.
He's gonna make a gajillion dollars in about 3 years, whenever that contract comes up. The Orioles are going to have to pay him so much money, and they got new owners. They're probably not going to, and he's going to be a Yankee.
I'm good with that, man.
Because the Yankees are going to pay him.
I might become a big pinstripe fan if that happens.
So much money.
But he's probably another one. Obviously, born and raised here in PDX, but yeah, I think you're right. It's gonna be those two with the mantle of like until somebody else comes up. But just the fact that they are both like. Justin Herbert is at the peak of all NFL quarterbacks, and Adley Rutschman's at the peak of all MLB catchers, at least, if not players.
I would say he's at least top 25 of like all position players in Major League Baseball, I would say. And maybe, like, who knows, like, I saw a thing like a ranking popped up. Like, he's ranked right now by I think it was MLB on Fox, but like he's ranked number 1 on all catchers. Like he's the best catcher in baseball
at 26
right now. Yeah,
younger than I am.
He is going to make so much money,
just ridiculous,
ridiculous amounts of money. He is going to make, but Where do we draw the boundary?
Oh, and Justin, did you know he tackled Christian McCaffrey once?
He did tackle Christian McCaffrey. And I think that was one of those times where he goes, I think baseball might be my jam.
He's going to maybe make more money than Christian McCaffrey.
Well, he's going to make so much more money than Christian McCaffrey. So much more.
Which is insane, but anyway.
But it's there's all, every once in a while you'll see, guys try to do both, and it's I think I'm going to go ahead and just stick to this. Do I really want to be a kicker? It's fun.
For Gary Anderson.
For Gary Anderson.
All
right, so where do we draw the boundaries? Where is the cutoff for Portland Metro? Is it Wilsonville? Does Wilsonville count? No. You say Wilsonville doesn't count.
I don't think so. I think it stops at and I'm a little biased here, I don't think Sherwood's part of the Portland Metro.
Oh,
I don't. I think it's more like Hillsborough, Gresham, Beaverton / Tigard.
Hillsborough?
I said Hillsborough.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I'm trying to go both sides. Lake Oswego's a suburb of Portland. West Lynn's a suburb of Portland.
All right, as a non-Portland guy, I would say Sherwood, Tigard, Tualatin, you are all Portland kids. That's just me. Now, obviously, it's different, which is, again, this is why perspectives are fun. Your perspective is very different than my perspective. You're like, dude.
I don't like to associate myself with saying, yeah. Sure.
I would say Wilsonville definitely. As someone who, when I was growing up, and we would come on, the once every couple of months trip to Portland, not a lot, it was
to go to the Lloyd Center, right?
Dude, Lloyd Center was...
Yeah.
Lloyd Center was
ice skating rink and all that? Yes,
so
sir.
Awesome. But when you went around, you went past Langdon Farms, right? And then through, what's that, Aurora right there? And then you hit over the river, Wilsonville, you were like, all right, we're in Portland. That's how 541ers feel.
The river. Okay.
I think it's the
fair.
river is the cutoff, and I'm going to count Wilsonville as Portland.
So that
Metro.
means that Newburgh is a suburb too.
Newburgh's fascinating.
It has to. If you're going by the river, then Newburgh.
But the river
it bends through. Yeah.
Bends through.
And that's fair. But if we're going to include,
because Dallas Buck was from Newburgh.
Yes. So.
He was really good.
Yeah.
Had some arm issues though, but he was legit good.
So okay, so Justin and I have officially redrawn the boundary now.
This is like in Mighty Ducks where Adam Banks went from the Hawks to the Ducks, and it's the lake's not the boundary anymore, right? Sorry, Adam Banks, you have to go from. By the way, there's some plot holes in that movie. I love the Mighty Ducks, but
yeah.
Gordon Bombay is such a good coach, yeah, kind of like Bill Belichick. You got Adam Banks on your team. We've all been, I never played junior hockey, but I played Little League Baseball. And let me tell you, you got the best player on your team, you're going to be an awesome coach.
Yeah.
You're going to be an awesome team. It's Kellen Schaefer's 9 years old. He can throw curveballs. Guess what? None of you are going to hit today.
So where do you think
we're going to be awesome?
Where do you think it stops going?
So
east?
it's like Gordon Bombay being such a good coach was such nonsense because of you just stole Adam Banks from the Hawks. You just took the best player, and all of a sudden now you're the Minnesota Miracle man. Miracle, you just got the best player.
Yeah. So how far east would you count Troutdale, our boy Drew Eubanks?
Yeah, I think Troutdale counts.
Some suburb of Portland, too.
I think I'm going to say the outlet malls.
Okay.
The outlet malls.
Okay. And what, Banks going west? We call Banks, the edge, or, Forest Grove.
Yeah, Forest Grove's not.
Okay. So we're determining our boundaries.
Because Forest Grove gets
Banks.
All of a sudden, Lincoln City is going to be part of it soon. All right. What a way to start the show. Love it. All right. So we're going to talk some. We got college football 25 EA Sports controversy. Or interesting bit of news, and I'm going to use this to get upon my soapbox once again. Before we do that, I do want to tell you about Oregon Siding, Roofing, Windows, Bath Experts, of course, talking to you about DeBella's. And if you want to save some money in 2025, update your home with energy efficiency and maybe even go another step further. Solar shingles that could pay for your roof with savings to your energy bill Federal and state incentives are also available. Contact DeBella for all the details. And now is the perfect time because they've got a financing opportunity of zero down and no payments until 2025 on approved credit. So check out DeBella for a free, no obligation appointment. DeBella is Oregon's roofing, windows, siding, and bath experts. Contact DeBella today. All right. It had gone a little bit quiet, like the NCAA 25 video game that was announced. Was that 2 weeks ago? Like 2 weeks ago, and boy, it took the sports world by storm. And I'll tell you how I know it took the sports world by storm. I'm not a video game guy, and it's all my X feed and YouTube algorithm and everything popped up, and it's like my iPhone should know I don't play video games, but does know that I'm obsessed with college football, and lots of people, including super producer Brenden, have been waiting years and years and years for this game to come back. And then we found out, all right, what are they getting paid? 10 G's? No, $600 a player. And it's like, now I will say, after thinking about this, and I have always been I'm not on the NIL train. I think that college football is going down a very, very dark path right now, and I think NIL was the beginning of it. That being said, here was the problem. This is how we all went down this dark path, which is ultimately gonna, and I don't want to get into the nerdy thing, but like Dartmouth basketball, like this is a big deal. Dartmouth basketball is a very big deal. The Tennessee lawsuit against the NCAA, these are all very big deals. And the NCAA kind of did it to themselves. Because let's just go back in the Wayback Machine, right? Let's go, Brenden, hop in the DeLorean, blip, 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 flex capacitor, fire it up.
We don't need roads.
We don't need roads, but we're going to need some plutonium. Hopefully we don't have to get it from Libyan terrorists. Anywho, what a good movie. Anyways.
Classic, man.
There are some plot holes in that one, too, but we're not going to dive into that. But, like, if we go back in time to the Ed O'Bannon lawsuit, right? What would have happened in our world, butterfly effect, if the NCAA just came out and said, all right, here's the deal, gang. We're gonna go a little bit easier on some of these extra benefit restrictions. Maybe we're going to cap it. Maybe we're going to make it to where it's part of a scholarship. Maybe we'll make it to where we don't own your likeness forever, because that was the big problem here. Ed O'Bannon was playing a video game after leaving UCLA for 15 years or whatever it was. And they was like, why am I in this game? And they're like, yeah, you signed away everything forever. Your image, maybe they could have at that point made a bit of an adjustment, said, $600 a player for a video game, which market correct, inflation. Thanks a lot, Biden. I don't even know how. I asked a very smart person at the gym. I go, can I ask you a dumb question? Because I know you're a smart guy, smart financial guy. I go, like, why is inflation a thing? He explained it to me. I still don't quite know why. I'm just like, why? Seriously, like, why is everybody complaining about McDonald's and how much it costs? And I'm like, but can't we just... Anyways, don't have time to get into that. But I tried to learn. Couldn't figure it out. Super smart guy. Anyways. Going back in the Wayback Machine, if the NCAA would have just been like, hey, we got some smart people in this room. Let's put our heads together and let's actually create an NCAA kind of an NIL division where it's actual NIL, where it is kind of has a governing body, and it's like, yeah, you can get, just like these players used to get the $500 gift packages from the bowl games. They were cool with that because bowl games were funding everything. But maybe if they had just budged a little bit or said, hey, this was always my idea. What if of every school set aside essentially a fund? Like, what is it? It's like an annuity. Like, and your jersey sales, because I did think that was always like, Dude, there were a lot of LaMichael James jerseys being sold in the early 2010s down in Eugene. Like, there was a lot of Oregon football jerseys with number 21 on them, and we all knew why people were buying them. And then a couple years later, there were a lot of number 8 jerseys being sold in and around the I-5 corridor. Shout out, Tyson. You know what I mean? There's a lot of number 8 jerseys, and I always thought, like, that's probably not a lot of money going to those guys, but maybe some should. And I always thought, what if you just set aside that money, and when you declare for the NFL or you run out of eligibility, boom, you get a check. Thank you. No harm, no foul. You get a check, and therefore you kind of eliminate the boosters out of it, and you make it a more of a manufacturing thing. But either way, neither here nor there. So we learned, finally, after 10 years of waiting, we're going to have this game. We're going to be able to pay the players. And it turned out, it was $600 a player. All you got to do as a player, all you have to do, I'm sure they all got an email. Reply to email. Yes, opt in. Electronically sign. Probably got a DocuServe thing, I would imagine. Electronically sign. Boom. You get $600 and you get the video game. What do you get if you say no? Nothing. Big fat nothing burger. Do I even get the game? No. You get nothing. So, no surprise when the video game came out, or when the news came out of kind of what guys were going to be offered. 10,000 college football players all said, yeah, thank you. I'll take $600. If I say no, are you still going to make the game? Yeah, we are. If I say no, is like, do I have any negotiate? No negotiations whatsoever. The number is 600. And if you say no, you're just not going to be in the game. And we're okay with that. Because as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, there's not a player in college football who would make a noticeable impact not being part of the game. But we knew somebody was going to hold out. And that somebody is non-starting quarterback, backup, sometimes third-string quarterback for Texas, Arch Manning. Yeah, that Arch Manning. Like, of all, okay, so 10,000 players have all opted in. One player said, yeah, I'm not opting into this game. I don't want to be part of this game. I don't want my image or my likeness or my name. Because I would imagine now that they're paying the players, Brenden, like, their names are going to be there, right? Because back when you used to play, it was like running back number 21. It was like, yeah, that's LaMichael James.
QB number 8 for Oregon between 2012 and 14 was crazy.
Really fast. Looks Polynesian. Huh. That's a coinky-dink. Anyways, so now their names are going to be out there. And when you go and play for Texas, you will not have third-string quarterback Arch Manning. And I want to get do you have the reasoning, like, word for word? Because it's so hilarious.
Shout out Rivals, my other employer. Got the exclusive with Arch Manning, and he said, Justin.
This is the best. Let's all prepare. Because what could it possibly be? Of 10,000 people going in, what could the one guy that we know of opting out, what could it possibly be?
Well, he said he has declined to share his name, image, and likeness because he's focused on his play on the field.
Boom. Even though he doesn't play on the field, Quinn Ewers plays on the field, and he's a backup, and he's going to continue to be a backup because Quinn Ewers ain't going anywhere.
But he wasn't the backup until Malik Murphy left. So I'd like to throw that.
He was the third-string quarterback.
Yeah, so just throwing that out there. Not to say he's not going to be great, but hey, okay, Arch, you haven't proved it yet.
Let's talk this out. What would have been better? The truth, which I don't know, I just know, is I'm a Manning. You don't get any of my stuff. I'm worth more than $600. And I don't know if that came from him or if that came from Grandpa. Because remember, when Eli Manning was going to be the number 1 overall pick to go to the then San Diego Chargers, Daddy came in and was like, "Hey, he ain't gonna play for you," and fixed it for him. That happened.
Wait,
like,
bulldozer parenting back then, Justin?
Even back then.
Oh, sorry.
Even with Archie Manning, one of
you triggered me there.
It's true, but that's what happened. Now we could say that kind of worked out for both, because the Chargers, while they did not win a Super Bowl, Phillip Rivers, that it worked. They got a guy for a good 10, 12 years, and they were fairly competitive. But let us not forget that Eli Manning was going to be the number 1 overall pick, and Archie Manning came in and was like, yeah, not going to San Diego. He's going to go to New York, and essentially tampered with the draft. And because it was the Mannings, nobody batted an eye. Well, now Grandpa's got grandson going like, yeah. So the idea of, well, I'm focused on the play on the field, and I want to I think it was our good friend Dwight James was like, he realizes like he doesn't have to hop up and play every time somebody fires up the game, right? You literally have to just, yes, I'm in. Give me $600. But I'm focused on my play on the field. What does that even mean? How on earth would be getting $600 and is he worried that getting a copy of the game, he'd be too distracted playing the game? That he's not going to be able to play, like focus on actually playing football? What does that even mean? Just say the truth. My last name is Manning. Just like that guy in Colorado, his last name is Sanders. Now, our names are meaningless other than the fact that my uncles and his dad did spectacular things, and we have yet to do anything. But because our names are famous, we are worth more than your piddly $600. That's what he's saying. And I would much rather just hear the truth. Now again, I think this one kind of proves my point, though. Do we know if Shedeur Sanders has opted into the game?
Him and Travis Hunter have.
They both opted in.
Yep.
All right. I wonder if they were going to.
Probably because they want to be on the cover.
You are a savant when it comes to the cover of NCAA 25 football. You, like, if their Jeopardy category came up, EA Sports NCAA football covers.
Justin would take me on his team.
You're like, I am run. If you went to trivia night, did you go to trivia night last night?
No, we still.
You guys have been on
We've been off.
What's going on there?
Like I said, I was missed last week. I have a big today and tomorrow coming up.
You had a thing.
Still a little
you got
jet
a thing
lag
after the show.
Yeah, so just kind of wasn't feeling it last night. So we're hoping to get it back next week.
But if you went to like trivia and they were like, final category, you can bet as little or as much as you want. NCAA football EA Sports covers. You would be like, bet it all. Because we ran through it. You knew all of them. Even when they switched them up and did like a different one for Xbox and a different one for PlayStation, you knew them all. Brenden, a lot of 4 and 8 guys on 4 and 8 teams making that cover. You know? This grift that the whole college football world, and I think I'm using grift correctly. It's what the kids say. But anyways, this scam that everybody like is falling for in the world of college football with regard to Colorado and Shedeur Sanders and everything. Like, he was 4 and 8 as a quarterback once he got into real football. Yes, lower level, him and Travis Hunter run the table in the SWAC. But then you came into big boy football and you went 4 and 8.
Hey, but they were 3-1 at one point. 3-0, actually, Justin.
Is there a path to the college football playoff? They're ranked. Is Shedeur going to win the Heisman? Like, the idea that Shedeur Sanders is going to be potentially on the cover of this video game is such a scam. This, like, Deion Sanders is pulling a Kris Kardashian over all of us. And I'm not buying it. Some of you might be buying it, but I ain't buying it. Because that's what this is. This is the Kardashians. No, I'm famous. Why? Because I said I'm famous. Like, Shedeur Sanders is an elite level quarterback. Well, why? I mean, his dad's Dion. 4-8 as a starter in the Pac-12. And the Pac-12 was good last year, but the Pac-12 isn't exactly the SEC. Well, I were 1-11 the year before. What do you expect? It's like 90% roster turnover that your coaching staff brought in. Okay. And by the way, wasn't Northwestern 1-11 last year or the year before? And Northwestern won 7 games with a quarterback you never even heard of. And again, I don't care who's on the cover of this video game, but the idea that Shedeur Sanders is even in the conversation to be on the cover of this video game after a 4-8 season. And by the way, they're going to go to the Big 12. They might make a bowl game. They might, because they don't have to play Oregon or Washington and going to the Big 12. They don't have Oklahoma and they don't have Texas, but it's not, they still got to play Utah. They still got to play Arizona with Fafita.
Yeah, I see 6 wins on their schedule. It's not.
All right, let's do this fun game. And because look, we're in this time, we can either do this or we can complain about the Blazers. I feel like this is better. All right, we got 30 seconds to run through Colorado's schedule. I'm gonna go win or loss.
Okay.
Hit me. Go.
North Dakota State.
Win.
Nebraska.
Loss.
Colorado State.
That's win.
Baylor.
Pass.
UCF.
UCF's going to be good. That's a loss.
Okay.
UCF's going to be good.
Kansas.
That's because what's his name?
Oh, I know.
Coach. Was it Auburn?
Malzahn. Yes.
Gus Malzahn.
Yes.
Gus Malzahn's there. They're going to be good.
Kansas State. They're going to be really good.
Where's that at?
It's in Colorado. Or Colorado. Nice, Brenden. Nice.
I do it all the time.
Nice,
I
Brenden.
do that so much.
Boulder and Colorado.
All right.
Boulder. Yeah.
I'll give him a win against Kansas State.
At Arizona.
No.
Cincinnati.
No.
Texas Tech.
Wait, no, go back. Where's that game at?
In Colder. Oh, my God.
Colder. Colorado or Colder?
Yes.
It's in Colorado?
Yes.
All right, I'll give him a win against Cincinnati.
Texas Tech.
In Lubbock?
Yes.
No.
Utah. In Boulder. Boulder.
Yeah, you can't stop.
That is bad.
No,
Yes.
that's Cam Rising's coming back. They're not winning that game.
Kansas Jayhawks. In Kansas. Lance Leipold.
Yeah, no.
And
That's going to be their, clunker game.
And Mike Gundy. In Boulder, though.
Yeah, they ain't beating them.
That's it. So that's maybe
So I'll
4
go back
wins.
to Baylor. Okay, it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. I love running through schedules.
Me too.
I love. God, I don't know if the audience likes it, but it is fun for us. We have got, there's a lot of NBA stuff going on. A lot of injury news. LeBron, Karl Anthony Towns. Ben Simmons, big injury news. Is it over for Ben Simmons? We'll talk about that in Roundball Rock next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up hour number one. Blazers go down last night. Just not enough firepower. It's the injuries, and I think obviously the not just the injuries game in a game, but I think Brenden, the weight of the injuries too, because you've got guys like Anthony Simons playing not more minutes, but you have to do so many more things when you don't have other options, right? Especially in the backcourt. And when you have got to carry the burden of trying to just keep your head above water. I get like Anthony Simons looked good at times last night, but man, he looks tired. And I think a good chunk of this team is just like, wait, just tired. Not the guys who are coming off of injury but like the guys who like Anthony Simons, and I know he had the thumb surgery, but like the guys who have been grinding it out, like the Duop Wreaths and the why can't I think Chris Murray, that guy, and Jabari Walker looks so tired, right? Because I think Jabari Walker, I think he could be a 10-minute a night guy with a normal NBA rotation, but he's playing like 26 minutes a night, and that shouldn't be his role. And he looks exhausted. So just not enough firepower for the Blazers last night. Other news and notes, though, in the NBA. Let's get some Tesh. All right, Brooklyn Nets say that Ben Simmons, that's right, he was still playing basketball. Ben Simmons will be sidelined for the rest of the season to consult with a specialist to explore treatment options for the nerve impingement in his lower back. You asked the question during the break. Let's have a 3-minute discussion on where it's tough when talking about biggest busts in any league because, it's not like these guys came out and said, hey, take me number one overall. Not like these guys came out and said, but they were put in that position. And so, they get paid an awful lot. You believe that biggest NBA bust, number one overall pick is
Anthony Bennett.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right. I know that we don't like talking, Greg Oden's on the list.
Greg Oden, I don't think was lack of talent.
No, it was injuries. Injuries, I think, because you could say Ben Simmons was derailed due to injuries.
But if you look, Justin,
but Anthony Bennett was just derailed because he was not as good at basketball as everybody thought he was.
Yeah, you take a number one overall out of the NBA within 4 years, out of it.
Yeah.
Not even a contract, never averaged, Justin, more than 5 points a game. At least Ben Simmons has
that one All-Star year.
Yeah.
That everybody was like, I think this is going to work. And it's and it hasn't.
I mean, yeah, it's I don't know what was going on in 2013. There was this guy named Giannis who went all the way till 15. But that was 2013, still maybe the worst draft ever, headlined by Bennett. But yeah.
Is Ben Simmons a bust or is he a what could have been?
What could have been, I think.
Because he made an all-star team. He got to a second contract, and there were got to the postseason.
Right.
Now, then in that postseason, completely melted down and had his own fans throwing garbage at him, which we don't condone. We don't condone.
I mean,
don't throw garbage.
I know you're not the biggest fan.
But his own fans throwing garbage at him.
Yeah, I mean, I know you were never the biggest fan of Ben Simmons, but there was a time when, I remember when you and a good buddy of the program, Aaron Fentress, were talking about trading C.J. McCollum for him. And I
never wanted that.
And I was with it at the time because I could, that's the thing is I still think he has talent. It's ridiculous that he's 27 years old and had all these injuries. Is he anywhere close to a max player? Nope. But I still don't think he's like an Anthony Bennett.
Here's my thing, and I'm going to try to do this in 40 seconds. I am a basketball simpleton, all right? I was the 1997 Douglas High School most inspirational player. No big deal. But when it comes to X's and O's and basketball and stats, I'm a simpleton. But sometimes the simpleton can, offer a perspective. He can't shoot the basketball. It's a very important skill to have while playing basketball, especially in 2024. He can't shoot. And if you can't shoot, unless you are, Wimby, and he can shoot, there's not really a place for you. All right, we have got hour number 2 coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. Blazers go down last night to the Oklahoma City Thunder, 128-120 at Moda Center. 6 Blazers did score in double figures, but the combined 68 points from Jalen Williams and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, likely MVP candidate. I don't know. Maybe somebody in this particular program predicted that back at the beginning of the year. Was too much to overcome. Pac-12 women's basketball tournament is underway in Las Vegas, and Oregon's season mercifully comes to an end as they were crushed by the Colorado Buffaloes. Colorado now moves on to face Oregon State in the second round. Oregon State received a first-round bye. And coming up in hour number 3, Curtis Rogers from 710 Seattle Sports is going to be joining us. We'll talk some Seahawks. We'll talk some Mariners. We got a lot of stuff to catch up with old C-Raj up in Seattle. So that's coming up in hour number 3. But hour 2 starts right now at 620 Rip City Radio. All right, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. I'm Justin Myers. I'm your host. Thanks for hanging with us. Super producer Brenden is back from his vacation. He was back yesterday. Sunburn fading away a little bit. Said to scrape your windshield this morning. I did.
I'm one of those lucky people who I'm sunburned for a day and then it turns into a tan. So.
Yeah, mine burn and then it peels and then it becomes more freckles like that. Because I'm going to the sunshine coming up in about 2.5 weeks. And so when I come back, I will be I'm hoping I sunscreen appropriately. But, when the resort drinks are a-flowing, the SPF gets missed every once in a while. But, yeah, I burn and then I peel and then I just get more freckles.
Are you going to be running into the spring break crowd down there?
I don't think the place we're going is a spring break hotspot, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it is
last week of March, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said.
It's going to be that
right,
time.
But I thought about that in my head.
I don't think it's the spot. Do you know what I mean?
A little too hoity-toity, maybe?
I don't know about that. I know it's a little bit an older demographic, shall we say.
I know a little something about that.
The volume of the music is going to be low. Right, we're not. There will be no EDM, I believe, playing where I'm going to be going. Yeah,
all too well, my friend.
But, so Brenden is back. We got Make or Miss coming up in a bit. Also, a little teaser in about 40 minutes. I saw a clue on Jeopardy, and I did not get this clue, and I wonder, because it's right up producer Brendan's alley, trivia challenge. Jeopardy trivia challenge for you, Brenden, coming up in about 40 minutes. I'm prepping you for it now so that I do not spring it on you, and you give me that look like I don't, what are you doing to me? So, 40 minutes, Jeopardy trivia challenge. We're going to do this on the big show. All right. Normally on Tuesdays is when I do get off my lawn. And usually when the sun is shining on a Thursday, I'm not that grumpy. I'm usually in a pretty good mood. But there are certain things that just stick in my craw, as the Cowboys used to say. Certain things that just get my goat. What's grinding your gears? This was a big deal all over the internet. And again, I don't know if this is my algorithm but I think it's all over the internet. Brenden, have you seen the highlights from the New Jersey high school basketball state playoff game? So there was a basketball playoff game. We're in playoff season. OSAA basketball, by the way, coming up at the end of this show. We've got OSAA action from Chiles Center coming up. Do we know who's
Yeah, Jesuit Barlow on the docket.
Jesuit Barlow. It's an elimination game, right?
Believe so, yes.
It's got to avoid the 2 in the queue.
Semi-consolation, so yes.
You don't want to do 2 in the queue. It happens, though. Best of luck to both teams. Hopefully the kids play hard. But in New Jersey, Manasquan High School was facing off, I believe, against Camden High School, and it was a buzzer beater, right? But guy goes coast to team goes coast to coast, puts up a shot, miss rebound, ball goes up, looks like buzzer beater. Manasquan moves on. Referees, they get together, and they start talking. And they go, no, too late, does not count, didn't get it off in time. Well, we live in a world where nobody watches anything with their eyeballs anymore. Everything that comes down to the wire, people have to watch through the screen of their iPhones, which can be somewhat valuable in a game like this, because clearly at the high school level we don't have replay. More on that in a moment. But we don't have replay at the high school level, and I don't, because I don't have children. I don't watch many high school basketball games, but I do watch every once in a while because my brother is a high school coach. So it's weird for me, as somebody that watches the NBA and college basketball, to then go to a high school game and you're like, oh, that's right. There's no replay. That if a call is blown, it's just blown. It's just that's what it is. There's no go. So in this game, the kid clearly gets the ball off. It was, now if you do the video and freeze frame it, it's 0.5 seconds on the high school gym game clock, right? Not NBA arena game clock, which is controlled by the officials and with backups upon backups. Not college arena, but high school scoreboard run by, math teacher. Ball was put up 0.5 seconds. But because we have iPhones now, everybody could freeze frame. It's like, yeah, clearly got the ball off. They should have won. Referees get together. They wave it off. And in 2024, because of all the technology and because of the replay culture that we live in, everybody is up in arms. To the point now where there is a law firm in New Jersey that has now filed a lawsuit. Sometimes, gang, you just get screwed. It happens, especially in high school sports. If you are not playing at the highest elite level where they've got all the cameras, where they've got all the technology, sometimes you're just going to get screwed. And this is what drives me nuts about replay culture, because I think replay in sports is good. I think it needs to be there in certain facets, but we have gotten to the point where we have lost our ever-loving minds with having to get, because I'm watching the comments on this, like, it's not even close. Yeah, that's 0.5 seconds to the naked eye without replay in a high school gym where the clock is where it is. Like, it's not on top of the basket. It's not, it's not prominently, like, it's a high school gym. And now this team is going to court and suing. Well, this team's not, but a law firm is suing on behalf of this team. Sometimes you just got to take an L. I don't like it. It stinks. But you know what? Sometimes when you play sports, there's a lot of benefits. I love the fact that I grew up playing sports. But you know what? One of the tough things about playing sports is sometimes you're going to get screwed. Sometimes you're going to get, like, not the fix isn't going to be in, but you know what? Sometimes a bad official can just ruin your day, your week, your season, your career. This is part of and here's the other thing that I find very funny. This is why I brought this up. Not that I care about New Jersey high school basketball and the outcome of it, but there's a lot of people that talk tough on the internet, right? I don't talk tough on the internet. I talk a little tough on this show, but for the most part, we're having a good time. But there's a lot of people that talk tough on the internet about cancel culture and woke ideology and the millennials and the Gen Zers are so. You know who has been screaming about lawyers need to get involved? We need to sue all the people that talk tough. All the tough talkers on the internet who are like, bro, your generation is so soft. The cancel culture can't handle a joke. It's like, yeah, all you people are the ones that are up in arms over a high school basketball game that you're not a part of. Ending, not even in a controversial way, but it's kind of a bummer. I do not believe the 3 basketball officials came in and was like, hey, guys, I think he made it. I think there's time left on the clock. But you know what? Screw this team. Let's wave it off. The lawsuits, lawyers should be involved. What are they going to do? You don't win money going to the state championship or going to the state tournament. And we become so accustomed watching sports where it's just like if a pinky finger touches the basketball before it hit, gambling has infiltrated our world so much. By the way, that's where all the replay comes from. All the replay comes from gambling. And not from the gamblers, from the sports book. Because the sports books are the ones that want to get it right. Because they're like, look, if we're going to pay out the money, we're going to make good and sure that it's the correct thing. But sometimes in sports, stuff, I don't want to say stuff, but I have to say stuff. We had a meeting about it. Sometimes in life, stuff happens. I remember, how long ago was it now? Do you remember, Brenden, the no-hitter or the perfect game? And it was the Detroit Tigers. It was a long time ago.
The imperfect game?
Yes.
And he called him safe. And
called him safe. He was out. The replay showed it. It was before replay in Major League Baseball. I think it's Armando. I think Armando Garcia.
Yeah, let me look that up.
I think is the guy's name. But I remember getting into an argument with a coworker one time because he was like, they should fix that. They should go back and they should change that and put it into the record books. And it's like, no. Umpire makes a call stands. They won the game.
Yeah, Armando
Garcia, right?
Galarraga.
Yeah,
Armando Galarraga. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Can't say I was following pro baseball too close 15 years ago.
But here's the thing. Okay, so he doesn't have a perfect game on his record, right? But you know what he does have? The most famous imperfect game of all time. Oh, he should be like, no. Sometimes referees make bad calls, umpires make bad calls, officials make bad calls. You get screwed, and you got to move on and move forward. And I understand with the gambling part of it in the NFL and in college and the NBA, but I don't know. I thought it was an interesting sociological study of lawyers need to get it. It's high school basketball, right? It's high school basketball. These officials are making like $50, maybe more than that. I don't know what the going rate is, but it's not like it's their profession. Every one of those referees is going back to selling insurance on Monday. You lose a high school basketball game by 0.5 seconds. Guess what? Forever and ever and ever, in and around the greater Manasquan area, on a bar stool somewhere in, 18, 19, 20, 4 years. On a bar stool in 4 years, remember that video? That was us. That's what you get forever. Yeah, you don't get to win but the uproar that people have of a high school game where their children were not involved. Oh, this is an outrage. It's no, it's a high school basketball game. Team got screwed. Sorry. Happens. All right, we've got Make or Miss coming up. We've got Trivia Challenge coming up. And Curtis Rogers, good friend of mine from 710 Seattle Sports. That's going to be in hour number 3. But Make or Miss next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, 1 hour from now, Curtis Rogers, 710 Seattle Sports. Former coworker, good friend of mine. He's going to join us. We'll talk about the Seahawks. Mike McDonald. We have got, are they going to go quarterback? If Ryan Grubb's right there. Is he going to start advocating for Michael Penix? But also, I forgot, Mike McDonald was on the Michigan staff, if I'm not mistaken, when J.J. McCarthy was there. So is there a familiarity there? Now, obviously, Mike McDonald was coaching defense, but he was on the Michigan staff when J.J. McCarthy was there in Ann Arbor. So do they go J.J. McCarthy, who seems to be like, he's the new belle of the ball, right? But this is what we do in post-combine pre-draft in the NFL world is we get real bored and real over the top picks. Because we've been talking about Caleb Williams for like a year and a half as the number 1 overall pick. Caleb Williams, since he was about midway through his sophomore season at USC, was like, this guy's going to win the Heisman. We've been talking about him for a year and a half as the number 1 overall pick. We're bored with him. So we got to find somebody else to talk about. That person is J.J. McCarthy.
Did you see the
Brenden, everybody loves him now. Everybody loves J.J. McCarthy. By the way, same guy didn't throw a pass in the second half against Penn State. That guy. Again, that might have been a coaching decision, but like the guy you didn't trust to throw the football against Penn State, he's the hot prospect now? I mean, just saying.
I kind of like J.J. McCarthy. He got a little bit of that kind of just the moxie that is so unmeasurable.
He got that dog in him? That's what the kids say.
Did you see that story that came out about his beef with Ryan Day that went back to when he was recruited?
No. Can I hear this? I love a great beef.
Yeah,
I
Justin
do.
does.
I love petty beefs. I love them.
Oh,
I might try to start one. Who should I start a beef with? Can't start a beef with Fentress. I love the guy.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll get back to you on that. But no, this was back when J.J. McCarthy was 16, so this was some years ago. But he said
this goes all the way back to when he was 16?
Yep. He said that, quote, Ryan Day lied to my face.
Right to my face.
By telling him that Ohio State would not take a quarterback in the 2021 recruiting class. A week later, they took one from Kyle McCord. Then J.J. McCarthy said he immediately wanted to commit to Ohio State's biggest rival, Michigan.
Boom.
And said, speaking on his new hatred of Ohio State, I used to love them. Now I want to kill them. So talk about some pettiness, man.
I like J.J. McCarthy because of that and that alone.
Like,
I know nothing else.
Man. I love
like,
it.
if you were to say, what do you know about J.J. McCarthy? Like, he won a lot of games, didn't throw the ball in the second half against Penn State, like, because they couldn't trust him. Again, that would have been a red flag for me. Now, let me just say, I am the worst evaluator of quarterbacks. Like, that's the reason why I am here talking to you on a radio show, and I am not a scout or an evaluator or an actual GM. Like, that's the only reason why. But I am I have a proven track record of being dead wrong on quarterbacks. But it's a little bit of a red flag if you can't be trusted to beat Penn State with your arm and you're going to go to the NFL. But on top of a but, shout out Sir Mix-a-Lot. I love the pettiness. I love it. Now, I think Ryan Day, if he actually said that, is really stupid. I don't know if he actually said that or if that's just what a 16-year-old heard. There's probably a lot of stuff I would tell, like, my parents, like, you said this when I was 16. Like, yeah, no, we didn't. Your dumb teenager brain heard something else. Because you can't tell anybody, like, we're not going to, because who knows? Because it was Kyle McCord was the guy maybe Kyle McCord was like lock, stock to Notre Dame. And he was gone, like, and then all of a sudden flips, and then you go like, well, we can't say no.
Hindsight's 20/20, but I would have rather had McCarthy since McCord is playing for the Syracuse Orange now and was basically pushed out of Ohio State.
Well, that's because they got the other guy.
11-1, and you're pushed out of Ohio State.
That's so weird in college.
Just saying.
College football has gotten so weird, man. Because it's true. Like, now I love the fact that Oregon's got Dylan Gabriel. Brenden, I don't know much about him other than he won a lot of games for Oklahoma last year. And everybody says, this guy's the real deal. People I trust. So I love that Dylan Gabriel's playing for the Oregon Ducks. But it is kind of insane that Oklahoma wouldn't fight tooth and nail to keep that dude on their roster. You know what I mean? Same, like
football's weird, man.
Because you have to have an understanding of like, all right, well, like Texas is going to have this problem. Arch Manning is like, I'm not even playing in this video game. And it's like, all right, well, Quinn Ewers is going to, like, is Arch Manning going to sit for 2 years? I don't know. But
That's
it's like,
a great question.
But you get like those guys, these 5-star guys, they're like, I'll sit one. I ain't sitting 2. And that's why you have to then say to an 11-1 quarterback, thank you, but please exit stage left, because 5-star pretty boy's got to go behind center and got to start taking snaps. But yeah, J.J. McCarthy's the guy that he's the cute new girl in school. You know what I mean?
She just moved here from...
J.J. McCarthy went away for 8th grade summer, came back hot.
Yep.
Whew. It's like, wait, weren't you...
Took off the glasses, have contacts now.
Braces got taken off, you know. But also, like, wait, weren't you the guy that couldn't pass against Penn State? Isn't that you? The guy that couldn't pass the ball against Penn State? Went away for the summer, came back hot. It's Combine. Combine hot for J.J. McCarthy. All right, let's get to Make or Miss.
All right, Justin, we're going to dive into something that we didn't get to dive into too deep yesterday, but that all Beaver fans are certainly excited for. Oregon State fans should be thrilled about how important, apparently, Ryan Gunderson was to Chip Kelly.
Yeah. Well, it's offensive coordinator is tough. It is. It's tough because if you are not an offensive coordinator for a defensive head coach, everybody's going to question you every single time, right? We knew when Kenny Dillingham was running the offense for Oregon under Dan Lanning, it was like, yeah, he's running the offense.
Right.
Dan Lanning gets the defense, which is where like Tosh Lapoy is in kind of that spot. But for whatever reason, we don't do it with defensive coordinators, with defensive head coaches, right? We only do it with offensive coordinators, with offensive head coaches. Like Mark Helfrich was a great offensive coordinator for Oregon. They want a lot, like, it's Chip Kelly's offense. He's calling the plays. Like, he didn't just fetch coffee, you know? And so I think being an offensive coordinator can be kind of tough, or even being an offensive, like a quarterback's coach under a guy like Chip Kelly, wherever, like, does everybody think that just Chip sits in a room by himself, watching film, drawing up plays, and everybody else is just like, you know, getting the DoorDash order going? Or like, what are we thinking, sandwiches or pizza today? But like, of course, Ryan Gunderson is a good hire. He was a legit quarterbacks coach, but it also helps when you get like people outside of the family, right? Because everybody at Oregon State's going to love the hire because they all love Ryan Gunderson, right? For the most part.
Some of us remember how Ryan Gunderson played at Autzen Stadium.
It was not a good day for Gundy.
So some of us remember that very well.
But he was like,
it is so vivid watching that at Grandma and Grandpa's house.
What year was that?
That would have been 05. Matt Moore got hurt.
I was going to say, I thought it was Loyal Moyval got hurt, but it was Matt Moore that got hurt.
Matt Moore got hurt.
That was the fall game?
I think so.
05 was the fall game.
And poor Gundy,
Ryan Gunderson in a fall game, and you guys just
hadn't gotten a chance to play much. And, you know, like that was his one career start, I think. But the whole point I brought this up, Justin, is...
But he was the backup that everybody loved up until that point.
Yeah, he local kid. But like the narrative that kind of out there were two camps. There was obviously bringing the guy home, but then at the same token, it was, well, this guy was the quarterback's coach. Chip does so much of the offense. Yeah. Is he ready to be a coordinator?
Which is always the dumbest thing.
But there are guys who go from quarterback's coach to coordinators and don't work out, Justin. And in a case like you mentioned with Oregon State, they now, unlike before where Jonathan Smith's background was offense, they now have a head coach whose background is entirely defense.
Yes, 100%.
You can't miss the offensive hires. So that's where I think there was a little like, I'm not going to say pressure, but there's like okay, like we hired from the Chip Kelly tree, but, it's nothing is a guarantee, right? For the reason you just mentioned. That's why I thought Mike McDonald, the Seahawks, right? Defensive guy, he goes and hires one of the sexiest, offensive minds in college football right now. So that's a savvy hire.
Does Gunderson count as like the Chip Kelly tree, or is he part of the Oregon State family?
Or really the Brenden tree is where he started. So that's kind of interesting too, who's, now in Arizona. So yeah, because I think he maybe graduate assisted for 2 years under Riley and then went to San Jose for quite a while, and then obviously with Chip for the last 3-4 years.
I love the fact that Trent Bray, and I mentioned it when they made all the hires. And obviously take it for what you will if you're an Oregon State fan. And by the way, thanks for keep listening to this show.
They listen. They listen. They got us. They
hate listen a lot.
They got to hang on with the boy.
There's
Brenden,
a lot
man.
of Oregon State fans who claim that I'm an idiot and they never listen to anything I have to say, but they know a lot of the things that I talk about. You know what I mean? Like, I see the emails, guys. Like, they hate listen, but if you're going to get Oregon State through this time, you got to have people that love the university. And like getting former players who care about the outcome, which is funny because Jonathan Smith is gone. But
hey, all I can hear is Justin.
That's who you got to go and get. You got Trent Bray, you got Gunderson. Who else did he bring in? Former
Keith Hayward.
Like,
who was a dude when you remember when he was a dude.
Like, you got to go and get guys that care about the program and care about the, Oregon State, like family and alumni and all that stuff. And they've been, I thought, usually I would get nervous. Like, that's too many former guys. But not now. In this situation where Oregon State is, the more former guys, I think, the better. But, yeah, that's a weird thing about, former players, though, is you kind of always see them as the player. It's like, yeah, of course Gunderson is a really good – he's been coaching for 15 years. What do you think he's been doing? I don't know if you've gotten to this point in your life. You will at some point where you are going to, in your 30s, you're going to have a friend who you knew from middle school and high school who is going to have a job that they have held for 10, 12 years. But for just human nature, you're going to always think of, like, your buddy from sophomore year. And you're like, wow, you're really good at this. And it's like, yeah, I've been doing this for like 15 years. Like what did you think? Like, I get that everyone's like, you're really, it's like, yeah, I've been on the radio for 20 years. I know that I'm I was the loud, goofy guy like junior year, but yeah, I've been doing, and like, I have a friend, he might be listening. But like, when Kelly and I bought our house, like, I have a friend that's in the mortgage business. And I was like, man, you are really good. It's like, yeah, I've been doing this for 15 years. What'd you think I was doing? Like, and that's the same thing, but as coaches, I think that happens too, where you're like, you just kind of think of them as the player. And it's like, no, they've been coaching this entire time. I think it's a great hire. And it also helps when Chip Kelly's like, yeah, we lost that guy. We needed him.
It was very interesting. I don't think, Chip, like, I don't think anything Chip says is random. So, I thought that was.
No, everything he says is calculated and planned out. I said it yesterday. Everything he says is calculated and planned out.
So that was cool to hear.
The questions that are asked are never part of the answer that is given. He is given a speech. He's not answering questions. And, man, some people just eat it up. Boy, do some people just eat it up. All right.
This is going to be a fun one for us to play around with, Justin, because I did not believe this until I saw it last night. Anthony Davis's problems against Domantas Sabonis are actually legitimately concerning.
Okay. Help me out here, because I was not aware of this whole thing.
So Anthony Davis.
I saw that they were losing and LeBron James' ankle got injured again. So and again, I don't want to call out injuries, and I don't want, but like, all I know is that LeBron's ankle seems to be bad when the team is not playing well, and when the team is playing well, the ankle seems to be good. I'm not a doctor, but that is an interesting phenomenon. Am I wrong? Anyways, what's up with Anthony Davis and Domantas Sabonis?
So last night, the Lakers obviously lost to the Kings, and it was brought out that Anthony Davis has never beaten Domantas Sabonis' career.
That's hilarious.
0-9 in all their career matchups. 0-9. So it's one of those like,
that's a weird stat.
You're kind of parceling for a funny stat a little bit, but at the same token, it's also like
but 9.
That 9's kind of a decent.
It's not like full like.
Yeah, that's like, So, obviously when
that's like when
Sabonis was in the East, they didn't play but twice a year. So now they're playing a little bit more.
Well, it's like they do in college football a lot. Like, Oregon State hasn't. Remember when they didn't win in USC since the Eisenhower administration? It's like, all right, well, they play there every other year. You lose once. There's 4. Mm-hmm. There's 4 years right there. You just lose once.
It was a long time.
But it was a long time. Eisenhower.
It was a long time. Like the freeways weren't built.
The interstate, yeah. All that. But you know what I mean? Yeah. But like, or it was like, there was like haven't won at Autzen. And it's like, well.
07.
Yeah, but like.
It's a long time.
You'd only have so many opportunities. And.
Or how about just straight, Justin, when y'all beat us, what was it, 8 or 9 years in a row from 15 to
it was good times. All the way up until that.
Or like, no, from 08 to 16. Yeah.
Man, it was good times.
I remember every year, man. And it's like, and it's funny.
Was it 08 to 16? Was that it? Yeah, because 07 was the overtime.
Yep. And then every year from there, and, as a kid.
So 08 to then 16 with the Gary Anderson.
And
getting carried off. And then.
Like, I'm sure kids of the Oklahoma State side of the rivalry years and years ago, like Justin,
But what do you think Gary Anderson was thinking that day in 2016 when he walked off that field? Boy, he must have thought, this gravy train is
I'm going to turn it around, man. And he signed a contract extension the next day and was real happy about it. But, no, I mean, you have that moment, Justin, where to just kind of have the fan in you. Like, for instance, that streak for me started when I was 12, and it didn't end until I was in college.
Yeah.
And, Justin, I'm not going to lie to you. Less so when I was in college and got a better head on my shoulders. But when you're, 13, 14, 15, and you've just been beaten and had some really bad games, you're like, are we ever going to beat these guys again? Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting, man. It really can be with them streaks.
Until you run it 17 times in a row. All right. Fantastic make or miss. 9 times for Anthony Davis. 9 times.
He's got a Sabonis problem, man.
That's funny. Yeah. Because I would have never thought to look that up. Ever.
Who would have?
Yeah. Exactly.
So, go figure. Yeah,
are we worried about LeBron's ankle? Because when the team's winning, like I said, it's fine. When they have a tough game or when maybe they're not playing so well, the ankle flares up.
I mean, at least Bronny isn't news anymore.
Yet. Give it time. Give it time. Wait till that NBA draft stuff starts happening. All right. We have got Brenden Trivia Challenge coming. I saw a clue on Jeopardy, and I'm like, I want to see if Brenden can get this one. That's next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up hour number 2. Normally this is Thirsty Thursday. That segment wasn't working, so we bagged that. But I saw this on, and again, let everybody know. And if you've heard this before, I apologize. When I am done with my day, and when my wife comes home, I make dinner. We sit down. We have dinner. We do a little chatting, a little bit of how's your day? How's everything going? Did you see this funny video? I did. Did you see this funny video? That's like a lot of what you do as adults now. Is like, hey, did you see this? Then wrap up dinner. I pour myself a cocktail. She pours herself a glass of wine. Sit down, and before we get into TV for the night or sports or whatever, I watch Jeopardy. I love Jeopardy. Jeopardy is one of my it might be my favorite show. It's definitely the show that I have watched more because I watch it every single night. And sometimes last night I was on a run. I was on a run in Jeopardy. They had SEC towns. So it's basically the cities or the towns where SEC schools were located. Ran that thing. Now I will say this. I used to be a monster on every pop culture category. Then, as I think people of my age realize, pop culture stays young, you get old. So I used to be like, music, I'm going to run that category. Or television, it's like, I haven't watched any of these shows. And popular music was one. And I'm like, I got this. No, I don't like popular music. So I believe the category was popular music. And I'm going to ask Brenden this question because I know you love trivia. I don't know if you like being put on the spot on the air right now, but I saw this and I'm like, all right, there's no way I was going to get this, but I want to know is this a common thing? You ready for this? This is Jeopardy. Used as an interjection in trap music. This vowelless word conveys the sound of tires screeching. What would your answer be?
Skirt, skirt.
Nailed it.
Yep. Didn't even have to think about it. Didn't even have to think about it.
Right? That was Jeopardy question.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't have to think about that, man.
Skirt.
That's awesome.
Or skirt or whatever.
Skirt, skirt. Yep. That's been around for... I remember that was such a big deal when I was in college. It was almost
this is
annoying.
like I know because you're the only person I know that likes trap music specifically as a genre. Shout out to Alex Trebek. We miss you, Alex. Because I know people who are fans of hip hop. I like the old stuff because I'm old. New stuff, don't get it. Can't tell me. I don't get it. But neither here nor there. But then there's different sub-genre of hip-hop, right? There's trap, which that's Atlanta, right? For the most part. It's that's all I know is T.I. T.I.'s trap and wait, what's his name? Trippie Redd, because you told me about it.
Future is very...
Yeah, I can't with the Future thing.
Oh, I still love it because...
What happens if Russell Wilson goes to Atlanta? Is that going to get awkward? What happens if the Atlanta Falcons bring in Russell?
I think that...
Because remember the Atlanta Falcons
Yeah.
were the team
Yeah.
that I believe it was when the Denver Broncos were playing the Atlanta Falcons. I don't think it was the Seahawks, but it was the Denver Broncos were playing the Atlanta Falcons, and they played the entire pregame warm-ups was Future songs. What happens if Russell Wilson goes to Atlanta? Well, it's a possibility, right?
Oh, it is. And there's still
Sierra's from Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, like
Future.
Yeah.
Which has been a whole thing.
Like, and it doesn't stop. Like, Justin, that pettiness, like, literally, I want to say.
And Russell Wilson's got, I don't know if he's a villain or not, but I feel like he's got like that I forget nothing type of brain. Like, now he's not ever going to convey it because he's always going to be like Mr. Squeaky Clean Russ. but I think he's got a brain that does not forget anything.
Yeah, I mean,
and like, what if the Falcons are the only team that offer him a starting job?
That would be interesting because, again, as someone who does keep up, like that, there's no love lost still, Justin. Like Future is still dissing Ciara in his music, like as of 2 weeks ago.
Every possible, and again,
Russ is raising his kids, so there's some awkwardness there.
I don't have children.
There's some awkwardness there.
I don't know what this whole thing is like, but I do know that every chance he could get in front of a camera, Russ is like essentially showing Future, see, look what I'm doing. Now, I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or if Russ is just trying to show, like, look how good of a family man I am, but I think he was at the All-Star game with Baby Future. Like, Future wasn't at the All-Star game.
I know.
Russ was at the All-Star game with his stepson. And you know what? Good for him.
Yep,
good for the kid.
Totally.
All that stuff. But, like, what happens if the Atlanta Falcons offer him a starting job?
That'd be awkward. There'd be some awkwardness there.
That's going to be funny. Please let this happen. But, yeah, skirt, you got it.
Nice. Winner, chicken dinner, baby.
Absolutely nailed it. All right, we have got third hour of the big show coming up. Saw something on the internet about a boxing match. We don't talk boxing on this show, but history lesson for the kids and a trip down memory lane for us of the older folk. That's next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. Portland Trail Blazers fell to the Oklahoma City Thunder last night, 128-120 at Moda Center. Made a ball game of it in the fourth quarter, but too many injuries to overcome. Also, too much Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams. They both combined for 68 points. 6 Blazers did score in double figures. Pac-12 women's basketball underway yesterday in Vegas. Colorado ends the Oregon women's basketball season mercifully. Oregon State with a first-round bye. They will face the Colorado Buffaloes coming up in a couple of hours at noon. And coming up in 20 minutes, friend from 710 Seattle Sports, Curtis Rogers, is going to be joining the show. We'll talk some Seattle sports. Who holds the championship belt right now for Seattle sports figures? Because it ain't Russ. Looked like it was Julio Rodriguez. Is it Michael Penix Jr.? Hour 3 of RCM starts right now at 620 Rip City Radio. All right, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Happy Thursday. Programming notes. In an hour from now, we're going to throw it out to Child Center as Jesuit and Barlow? Jesuit and Barlow? The Crusaders and the Bruins battle it out. Elimination game at Child Center in the OSAA. Do we know who's on the call? Either way, we're going to be carrying.
I do not have that information.
That's all right. Sure, it's somebody incredibly talented. And so we got high school basketball elimination game action. Man, I do know that feeling. Not to tell like some glory days stories of old Uncle Justin. Boy, if Coach would have played me. But yeah. Beat Ontario, first round. Beat Ontario, lost to Sutherland. Sutherland would go on to win the state title. So really, I feel like we finished second that year. Lost to Sutherland. Then had to go to the morning game. Astoria took us down. I don't hold that against Jordan Poyer, though. Jordan Poyer was just cut. He's going to catch on somewhere. Don't hold it against Jordan Poyer. But Astoria pushed us out. It's tough. It's a tough loss. Took Ontario down, though. Take that, Tigers. They had this dude named Jason Ball who was so good at basketball. And he, in the season, I believe he broke his hand. Had to play the season left-handed. He, lit us up for, 24 left-handed, but we had Paul Amali.
That's impressive.
We still beat him. Still took him down. But, his dude, I remember at the end of the game, we were like, so that guy's not left-handed. He's got and he just lit us up for 24. Anyways. Oh, I love state tournament. Basketball state tournament they're so good. It is so much fun. Every level, and that again, is not what it used to be, but still so much fun. When they were at Gill and when they were at old MacArthur Court, and then I remember it was 4A because that's how old I am. You would get the Final Four would play was Memorial first, and then depending on the Blazers' schedule, right, you would play at the then Rose Garden, now Moda Center. We didn't bring that back. Let's bring that back. So OSAA basketball coming up. All right, I want to talk about this. Saw this on Twitter. This from Mike Tyson. Now you're gonna have to help me out, Brenden, because I am kind of aware of Jake Paul, but I kind of say I know who he is because I don't want to seem out of touch. Who is Jake Paul? How did we get here? Do you
He's a YouTuber.
There was Logan Paul.
Yeah, they're both YouTubers.
It's his brother.
Yeah.
And he was a guy that they call it creating content now, but
yeah, I think Jake is kind of the more famous one.
But Logan was the first, right? He was the first guy I remember. And then all of a sudden, Jake Paul, this went from being a YouTuber to I do boxing now. And seems like he's pretty good, but a lot of people are saying like he sets up his matches. The matches are set up so that he cannot fail. He is not like he is handpicking his opponents. Most of his opponents are older fighters, or especially like what older. We'll start off with celebrities, right? Because didn't he knock out Nate Robinson? He popped Nate Robinson good. And then he went to like older like UFC guys. And a lot of people were like, these UFC guys are coming in. It's a guaranteed payday. If they wanted to, they could knock him out. But there's a rumor that the stuff around this Jake Paul guy is that these are rigged. Is that fair? I've heard that a couple of times. Don't know it. I'm not reporting it. But I've heard that like the Jake Paul fights are like they're
Isn't that all boxing?
It's reality TV. It's not real boxing.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that all boxing? I mean, you're telling me that Floyd Mayweather didn't set up some of his
stuff? The Conor McGregor thing, I think Floyd could have popped him in like round 3.
Yep.
But he was like, we're going to make...
I also thought Conor held his own for a pretty decent part of that fight. I hear you.
Here's where I wonder, like, you know how in the NBA it's like, they're not rigging the playoffs, but they want them to go to 6 games. You know, and all of a sudden, game 5 or game 4 has some interesting foul calls, and you're like, "Why is this team going to the?" I think there's something of that in boxing. But anyways, Netflix, July 20th, right in the middle of summer when nobody's doing anything. Jake Paul is going to be fighting Mike Tyson. Now, Mike Tyson is 57 years old, but I believe, and I am not a boxing connoisseur. I was a fan as a kid because I loved pro wrestling as a kid. And then it was like, hey, they're in the ring too. And then Mike Tyson, when I was a kid, was the baddest man on the planet. More on that in a moment. So I'm not a boxing connoisseur, but from what I understand, much like a basketball player's ability to shoot, right? The ability to shoot never leaves. It's just your legs will leave you. And in boxing, when you got a right hand and when you have knockout power in your hand, that doesn't leave you. It's your legs. It's your lungs. It's your stamina, all that stuff. Now, maybe I just still believe that Mike Tyson is the same guy from 1988 that when I was 9 years old was absolutely destroying the entire boxing world. But Jake Paul's going to get destroyed. Now, if he doesn't, I think this whole thing's rigged. Because I still believe even kinder, gentler Mike Tyson that we know now, I still think there's that eye of the tiger that we learned about. And here's the thing that maybe Jake Paul understands this, maybe he doesn't. But, Brenden, most dominant athletes in my lifetime, it's a small number. Not talking about greatest, I'm talking about most dominant. There was Shaq in the early 2000s. Couldn't stop him. Shaq was, for a 2-3 year stretch, the most dominant basketball player. When he stepped on the court, when he decided when he was going to dunk on your face, there was nothing you could do about it. So, Shaq is up there. Tiger Woods golfing in the 2000s. Early 2000s, Tiger Woods was like, Brenden, it wasn't even close. Obviously, I think there's 2 iterations of Michael Jordan. I think 1992 or 1993, Michael Jordan. Mike Tyson in the run from like 1986 until he would ultimately lose to Buster Douglas. I think that was will you look up when Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas? I think it was 1990. But there was a stretch run. Now, again, I understand everything about Mike Tyson out of the ring.
Okay, do you know
criminal part of it? I know all of it. I'm trying to separate the two. I'm not trying to dismiss it. Serious stuff.
Do you know?
That being said, in terms of Mike Tyson as a boxer, from like 1986 to when he lost to Buster Douglas, when was it 90?
Yes. Also, trivia for you.
Uh-huh.
Where was it?
It was in Tokyo.
Yep, Tokyo,
Japan.
Good job.
Again, no internet back then. Mike Tyson was top 5 most famous athlete on the planet at that particular time, I would say. Right? You had Michael Jordan, but he hadn't become like we were getting there in 1990, but like you had Michael Jordan, you had like Joe Montana, tail end of his career, but like Mike Tyson in the late 80s was, I mean, one of the most popular figures in the country and worldwide. That's how you go fight in Japan. The run that he went on from like 86 to 90 was unbelievable. Guys wouldn't last 90 seconds in the ring. And I know this sounds a lot like you wouldn't believe the size of this fish. Do you know what I mean? Like it sounds a little bit like the dominance of this dude in his prime, in my opinion, as a boxing novice, unmatched by anything except Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali was a force because of cult of personality, obviously his boxing, but the political landscape at the time, the way the country was at the time of Muhammad Ali, all factored in. Mike Tyson, Brenden, his nickname in the 80s was the baddest man on the planet. And nobody said, is he? No, he is. I think Jake Paul's going to get knocked out cold. And now maybe this is what they all want. This is what Netflix wants, because hasn't that been like, I think you'll get this reference because you finally watch Game of Thrones. Jake Paul, to me, is King Joffrey of boxing. Everybody's ready to see this guy get knocked off his peg.
Or poisoned.
Spoiler alert. Because
that's a great. That's fair. Yeah.
I feel like he's like the King Joffrey of Game of Thrones, where it was like, this guy is, and finally, finally somebody did.
It's gonna be entertaining. I'll say
but
that.
But he has set up like these matches where people are like, oh, this time it's finally gonna happen. This time it's finally gonna happen. This is no, hasn't happened yet. If it ain't Mike Tyson, then I'm like, all right,
now
something's going on here. Even 57-year-old Mike Tyson, that's still an iron fist.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that real quick, because I know
I'll watch it because it's on Netflix, and I have Netflix. I wouldn't pay for it, but I'm watching.
Just from my perspective, Justin, you were asking me this. My generation and younger, Mike Tyson is the old boxer who happened to be funny in the Hangover movie.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see, all the young people are going to be pulling for Jake Paul, I think, in vain. But it's just going to be very interesting to kind of see. I think this will get massive viewership numbers. Absolutely massive.
If Mike Tyson has 30% of what he had in the 80s, Jake Paul has no chance. Absolutely no chance. At 30% good Mike Tyson, this dude has no chance. If he does end up surviving and winning, I'm like, all right, what's going on? All right, Curtis Rogers is going to be joining us. We'll talk some Seattle sports coming up in a bit. But before we get to all that, I do want to tell you about Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, and bath experts. How can you be experts in all of those things? Well, DeBella, they put in the time, they put in the work, and 15,000 5-star reviews on Google says, yeah, they can do all of it and then some. Plus, they can offer an amazing financing opportunity. 0 down and no payments until 2025 to renovate your bathroom, to update your roofing, your windows, your siding, because not only does it make your house better, not only does it up the value of your house, but it makes your home more energy efficient. You want to save some money in 2024? How about solar shingles on your roof? You could pay for your roof with the savings to your energy bill and federal or state incentives. DeBella has all the details. All you got to do is contact them for free, easy, convenient estimates, and they are always scheduled on your time. No obligation. The roofing, windows, siding, and bath experts here in the state of Oregon. It is DeBella. All right, it's time to check in on our friends a few hours north of us, depending on how the traffic is around the Tacoma Dome. There's still traffic around the Tacoma Dome? Like every single time. It's been a minute. But joining us now, friend of mine from my old place. Had a different name when I worked there, but numbers are still the same. From 710 Seattle Sports. He is part of the Bump and Stacy show. Why it's not the Bump, Stacy, and C-Rod show, I'll never know. But he's an A-lister on this particular program. Curtis Rogers on the big show. How we doing, C-Rod?
Justin, I appreciate the intro, and yeah, there's still traffic by the Tacoma Dome. That's a constant. And I got a question for you.
Yes.
Are you going show sheet or no show sheet today?
I am going no show sheet at all. Haven't done a show sheet in quite a while, C-Raj. So yeah, we are flying by the seat of our pants.
Love it.
Are you going written update today? Or are you flying off the cuff on the update today? That's what I want to know.
Oh, we're going off the cuff. The cuff has never been on. That's how off the cuff we're going.
Because some people can go off the cuff on the update. Some people don't. Some people require a written down update. Enough inside jokes. Let's dive into some Seattle sports. So, C-Raj, this is my question. Because I am an old school wrestling fan. You are. Last time I checked in, you dabbled in the wrestling. Don't know how much anymore because you're a father of two now. But you understand, the game inside the squared circle. I'm curious, as we sit here right now in March of 2024, Russell Wilson's out in Seattle. Julio Rodriguez coming off of not the greatest season of his career. Who holds the Seattle Sports Championship belt right now? If you were to anoint the world heavyweight champion of Seattle sports figures, Pete Carroll's out too. Like who's got the strap?
I think the strap right now belongs to Julio still.
Okay.
But what's interesting is that I would say within the last 12 months or so, Michael Penix made a really strong run at the title. He was pointing Julio out, pointing to the WrestleMania sign after Royal Rumble, and that's what they all do, calling him out. And at Roadblock, which is right before WrestleMania, I think Julio took him out. Penix couldn't bring home a national championship to Washington. So I think it's still Julio's town here. He's talked a lot this spring training about how last season was a disappointment for him, which – I mean, he still finished fourth in MVP voting. I think everybody would take that kind of disappointment every single season. But, yeah, this is still a Julio town. And, hopefully there's a challenger or two because that means everybody's going to be winning up here. But, yeah, there's – like you mentioned with the Seahawks, there's just a ton of new faces around there. No Russ, no Pete. John Schneider's still there, but everything else looks very different.
Yeah, I mean, it is fascinating because the Michael Penix thing, because obviously Ryan Grubb now gets the offensive coordinator position, and I know there's some rumors circulating about J.J. McCarthy because Mike McDonald, and I'm going to say his name very slowly because I keep saying the other coach in Miami, his name way too fast, was there in Michigan with J.J. McCarthy. I know there's an injury history, but, man, while we're on the subject of the title, but if Penix gets drafted by the Seahawks and then ultimately kind of sits there behind Geno and then the fans become restless by about week 4, he could make a run at this whole thing because of the last 2 years there on Montlake.
Absolutely. And as you know, one of the most popular guys on an NFL team is the backup quarterback. And I mean, if you were to draft and stash Michael Penix here in Seattle, I mean, God, the fan base would be calling for him the second Geno turns the ball over. Even though Geno Smith has had 2 very respectable seasons, I know this last year wasn't necessarily to the level of 2022, but yeah, I think the Seahawks are absolutely looking for their next quarterback after Geno Smith because every move that they have made this offseason has kind of been with, especially with Geno Smith, just kind of like, okay, you're the starter for now. That's what John Schneider said at the Combine. I think the Seahawks are absolutely searching for their next quarterback. If it comes in this draft, I know the fan base is going to go nuts if that happens, and especially if it's Michael Penix. Holy cow. Like, this Seahawks fan base is going to be head over heels. I do wonder, though, at pick 16, if that might be a bit of a reach for Penix. I know he had a great combine. So maybe you do the classic John Schneider and trade down, maybe pick him in the late first round, maybe pick up a second-round pick here or there if Penix is still available. It seems to me that if the Seahawks aren't going to trade up in the first round, it's McCarthy, it's probably Bo Nix, and it's Michael Penix. One of those three guys, could be of their desire at pick 16 or maybe a little bit later in the first round.
Curtis Rogers from 710 Seattle Sports joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. Curtis, I've been fascinated with the Russell Wilson thing because I don't know if we've ever seen this before, where a quarterback, 9 Pro Bowls, 2 Super Bowls, won one, was, and we kind of talked, arguably since Griffey, the most beloved sports figure in Seattle sports history, right? It was a time a couple of years ago where it was Griffey and it was Ichiro maybe, and then it was Russell Wilson, and then out of nowhere the breakup happens. Other than a finger injury, no actual significant injuries, and a career that has just fallen off the cliff. So you're there, you got your fingers on the pulse of Eastlake and everything else around Seattle sports. Where is the Seattle fan base with Russell Wilson now? Has it moved from anger to almost a little bit of feeling sorry? Is it still boy, get what you get? Where is the Seattle fan base with regard to Russ? Because it's been nuts these last couple of years.
It has been. And I think the last one you said, sort of, you get what you get. You made your bed, now you got to lay in it, Russ. Mm-hmm. And this is what he wanted, and the situation blew up on him. And now there's no assurance that he's even going to be a starting quarterback going forward. And, I mean, if you bring him in as a backup, you're bringing the circus of Russell Wilson as a backup. It kind of reminds me of when Cam Newton was out of the league for a little bit, and, Cam would complain that he, wasn't getting any calls. And it's well, you got to deal with all that is Russell Wilson. You had to deal with all that was Cam Newton back in the day, when he was going to New England and back with Carolina for that one season. I don't know if a team wants to bring in Russell Wilson as their backup, especially, let's say you have a starting quarterback already that is kind of, there's question marks surrounding if that guy's going to continue being the starter. And, I mean, look, if Russell Wilson is a backup quarterback in the NFL, he automatically becomes the best backup quarterback in the entire league. Like you said, mm-hmm. 9 Pro Bowls, a pair of Super Bowl appearances. But is that something that you want to have hanging over your incumbent starter's head? I don't know. It's weird. I was thinking the other day, Russell Wilson was a Hall of Fame lock. Just if he had continued here in Seattle, I don't think there would have been any question if he was going to end up in Canton one day. Now, not so sure. And I think that's something that Seattle sports fans are kind of wrestling with, where it's the greatest athlete in Seattle sports history is Ken Griffey Jr., a Hall of Fame lock, one of the greatest of all time. Every athlete in Seattle that gets beloved, like Gary Payton, he's in the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. They all have capped off their careers with a Hall of Fame induction. And it's can the best Seahawk of all time, or maybe the most important Seahawk of all time, Russell Wilson, not have a gold jacket at the end of his career? It's a weird sort of possibility that exists now, because everything that he accomplished in Seattle now is just kind of was it him, or was it the system that he was operating? Was it Pete Carroll having his fingers all over what the Seahawks were doing offensively that kind of masked maybe what Russell Wilson's shortcomings were? It's weird, just kind of the legacy now, looking back on it, because Russell Wilson's time in Seattle is over. What is it that we're going to remember Russell Wilson for? Is it his time in Denver, or is it the decade-long stint he had here in Seattle where they won more than they ever had? I think Russell Wilson is just – I don't know if he's going to be able to get back to even a playoff-level quarterback play. So, yeah, it is very strange to see where Russ is now compared to where, just a couple of years ago. I saw somebody tweet out a picture, the NFL Top 100 list. He was number 2. He was only behind Patrick Mahomes And now here we are. Russell Wilson doesn't have a job anymore.
It's completely insane. Curtis Rogers from 710 Seattle Sports joining us. Just a quick aside, we joked about this earlier because there are some teams out there, Curtis, that if you could get Russell Wilson on a veterans minimum, which I think is somewhere around $1.5 million, because the Broncos are going to have to cut a $39 million check just to say goodbye. But there's a handful of teams out there that I wonder if they would kick the tires, because you know how this league works. And like you said, how do the fans remember him? I guarantee you the coaches across this league who are looking at their quarterbacks going like, we don't have anything like Russell Wilson 3 years ago. Let's give it a shot. How weird's it going to get if he goes to Atlanta?
Oh, it'll get weird. Yeah,
I mean, because
sure.
we pregame warm-up music, definitely going to have to change. Inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium is like, man, boy, of all the teams, like, I want to see this just from a fun perspective, but it's a real possibility that the Atlanta Falcons could be like, let's bring in Russell Wilson, and $1.5 million. Ritter goes back to being a backup, and then what does your pregame DJ do?
Boy, think about the pregame DJ for once. Why don't you?
Crying out loud.
Yeah. There goes half his catalog. You could still play more Sierra for sure. That obviously is going to get played more, but she hasn't had a bop, I feel like, in a while.
It's been a minute. Yeah.
But yeah, it has been. She's a very nice lady. I've met her a couple of times. She's always been nice to me. But Atlanta is a very intriguing possibility because you look at all the weapons that they have. They are a quarterback away. Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier in the backfield, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. They've got the weapons that it takes to have a very effective offense in the NFL. I do wonder, though, if they're going to be more in on Kirk Cousins instead of Russell Wilson. Kirk Cousins, he can rock a chain better than most people.
Very true.
So I feel like he would assimilate well to the ATL Chaudet culture down there. It's going to be, Atlanta's a team to watch for sure because they just kind of feel like they've been lurking, and the NFC South is a division that anybody can win. There's no team that has ever separated themselves over the course of the last few years. Atlanta would be definitely the most intriguing option for Russell Wilson. I've heard Pittsburgh is another. Put him there with Kenny Pickett.
That'd be a terrible idea. Terrible idea.
Yeah. I know who I'm talking to here. You don't want to have Russell Wilson quarterbacking your team at this stage of his career. But, outside of those two teams, there just aren't a lot of opportunities right now for Russell Wilson. And I feel like all these teams that are in desperate need of a quarterback are probably going to let, the first wave of free agency go through. If Kirk Cousins isn't the guy in any of these spots, they'll probably look to the draft. And then after that, I think maybe we'll start to see some movement on Russell Wilson because it just feels like this is a free agency that's probably going to be like, oh, our starting quarterback got injured. We need to bring in somebody. Russell Wilson, you're our guy.
Yeah, I think Russell maybe goes the Joe Flacco route, which is like, why would I do training camp? Now, obviously, they're still going to have that bad taste in their mouth. Let's go back to Seattle though, because I believe like a fan base's relationship with a quarterback is a lot like just normal everyday relationships, and I feel like Geno Smith was a nice rebound. Nothing wrong with Geno Smith ever, but never quite the fire that you had on the years of 12, 13, and 14 with Russ, but it was a nice distraction coming in off the breakup, and I feel like now after 2 years, Curtis, maybe the attention of the Seattle sports fans is going to go away from what Russ is doing and maybe now focusing back on what Geno Smith is doing. And I know Mike McDonald has been very cautious about saying anything about the future of either quarterback, but like if you had to bet, is Geno Smith the starting quarterback for this team? Maybe week 1 even or week 17. Like, does he make it through the entire year as a starter? Because it doesn't feel like he's the guy. You know what I mean? Fine quarterback.
Yeah.
Get you a couple of wins. Not gonna, might even make a run at the division, but doesn't feel like a guy that can get you to the Super Bowl. And with Patrick Mahomes just kind of lurking out there, everybody else is looking for that guy.
I think he'll be the starting quarterback week 1. I don't think he'll be the starting quarterback week 18 because just everything that we have heard from John Schneider and Mike McDonald kind of leaves the door open for the Seahawks going out and acquiring a young quarterback. And John Schneider appeared on our station. It was either last week or the week prior and was asked, hey, why are you interviewing all these quarterbacks at the Combine? Because the Seahawks had interviews with Jade Daniels and Drake May and J.J. McCarthy and then the kid from Tulane, Pratt. And Schneider was like, hey, we are just trying to, circle everything. We're trying to check every box, and we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't at least have these conversations with these guys. And then the previous year, when the Seahawks had a top 5 pick, they went and did the whole quarterback tour, took the selfies with all the top quarterback prospects in the draft, didn't get a chance to take any of the top 3 guys. I do kind of wonder if Anthony Richardson hadn't been taken by the Colts, if that's who the Seahawks would have gone for at pick number 5, the following pick after Indianapolis. And then also John Schneider mentioned that, yes, they have only drafted 2 quarterbacks in 14 years, in his 14 years as general manager of the Seahawks, but that wasn't something that he was proud of. He was kind of like, well, that's just kind of the situation that's been here. I mean, you had Russell Wilson for that whole time. You didn't really need to look for his successor, although that didn't stop John Schneider from kind of shaking the boat a little bit around 2018 when it looked like he had some significant interest in Josh Allen. I know he looked at Patrick Mahomes, too, the year prior to that, which really upset Russell Wilson's camp and kind of spurred this whole thing along. So it's not like John Schneider has ignored quarterbacks fully over the past 14 years, but I do think at some point he is going to be ready to pull that trigger and take a quarterback. And I'm looking at this year's draft class compared to next year's. I feel like this year's has a lot safer options right now, guys that have already emerged. So maybe this is the year that we see the Seahawks finally take that quarterback out, other than Russell Wilson and Alex Magoo, who was a 7th-round pick out of Florida International.
Yeah, can't forget. Don't sleep on Magoo. Let's not sleep on Magoo.
I think a lot of people are still sleeping on him all these years later, and I think that's a mistake on their part.
I still feel like Magoo's best years are ahead of him. I really do. I think there is an Alex Magoo resurgence on the way. One last thing before we let you go. Curtis Rogers, my good friend from 710 Seattle Sports, not Seattle sports related, but it is the month of March, Curtis, and your Arizona Wildcats are poised to make a run. Haven't made the Final Four since 2001. I don't know if you knew that or not. I don't know if anybody's brought that up, that your Arizona Wildcats have not made the Final Four since 2001. Like that was 9/11. It was like before 9/11 happened,
here, right?
Like that's. Yeah. It seems like they would have made a whole bunch more. Is it Final Four or bust this year? Got to do it, right?
You have to because it's in Glendale, right? It is.
Oh, that's right.
It would be a home game essentially if they made it all the way to the Final Four. Now, the Final Four has been in Phoenix a few times.
Yeah, I was at one of those. Curtis, I was at a Final Four in Phoenix.
Yeah, that was the UNC Gonzaga Final Four.
I was at that game.
So,
two other teams there. South Carolina was there.
They ended up losing.
And then there was, team that's going to the NIT for the 3rd year in a row.
Hey, not everybody gets invited to the NIT, mostly because they're going to the NCAA tournament.
That's a good point.
I think there is a very big expectation for this Arizona team to at least get to a Final Four. I know that they haven't been totally tested in the Pac-12 this year. Washington State has been just a nightmare matchup for Arizona. I wonder kind of how that might play out if they meet in the Pac-12 title game coming up here. But, I think the Wildcats do have what it takes. The difference this year from last year is that Caleb Love, I know Ducks fans
that guy.
Really don't like him.
Boy, he does not like them either.
Yeah, that's true. He has the ability to score at any point. So when everything kind of breaks down in March and everybody loses their mind and these 18 to 22-year-old kids forget how to play the game that they've played their entire lives in the final 2 minutes of every game, he seems to be the guy that wants the ball. So that is a good thing to have in March. I did see that Dana Altman wasn't going to retire.
Not
anytime
retiring.
soon, so that's
Nope.
good.
More
Yeah.
NITs.
Nope, not hanging him up.
We're excited. We got banners. We got 2 CBI banners. Real quick, one last thing, and this is not mean spirit. It's actually meant as it's kind of sad because the Pac-12 as a conference we all know is going away. You will now be as an Arizona fan. You're a Big 12 guy now. I don't know how you feel about that. Get your barbecue ready. You got to start hating Kansas, which is going to be interesting. But of all the venues, Curtis, for your Arizona Wildcats that you are not going to miss your team going to, is Gill Coliseum on the top of that list? Not going to miss that place?
1,000%. 1,000%. I was actually thinking about that before coming on with you guys today. Every time Arizona goes and plays in Corvallis, it just is a house of horrors. There has never been a game that has gone 100% without any sort of thing going wrong. And this year, everything went wrong. That buzzer beater at the end of the game, losing. There have been a couple other games, too. I think Jared Cunningham had a big game against them years ago. Yeah, I don't ever want to see Arizona play at Gill Coliseum. Like, I'm looking at all these Pac-12 teams, and it's like, I wonder if they can kind of renew that rivalry when everybody parts ways here at the end of the season. I don't ever want to see the Beavers on Arizona's schedule again. I do remember when I was at U of A, Cunningham and our big 7-foot Ukrainian center, Kirill Natyashko, got into it. There was like a bench clearing brawl in a way at McHale Center. So, yeah, I will not miss the Beavs at all going forward. See you later, Beavs. Enjoy Moraga, California, and Randy Bennett and the St. Mary's Gales.
Yeah, producer Brenden stormed the court when he was in college against your Arizona.
Beating
Wildcats.
TJ McConnell is pretty great.
TJ McConnell, look out! I don't know. Nobody was injured though, right? Nobody got like a serious knee injury. All right, good. I'm glad. Court storming, it's getting dangerous. We don't have time to dive into that.
Never happened at McHale because we're always so good.
There we go. There it is. Perfect way to end it. Hey, C-Raj, love you, buddy. Always love having you on the show. Have a terrific broadcast later on today. Hey, tell the gang I said hi. Of all the people that remember me up there, I think it's like 3 people left. But you know what? Tell the gang I said hi.
I will. I will do that, Justin. Thanks for having me on, man.
All right, there you go. Curtis Rogers. We have got one more segment. It's the RCM Mailbag next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, between Curtis and us going a little bit long, and high school basketball looming on the other side, because they're not going to wait for us. No. Jefferson or Jesuit and Barlow got to tip it off. We have got to hustle up and get out of here real quick. Let's open up the mailbag, though.
All right, Justin, probably got time for about one good mailbag question today. So I'm going to let you have a runway with this. What do you think is the future of our business with AI?
I hope it's oh boy, I don't know if I have got 90 seconds to be able to wrap this up, but as far as our business, I don't think you can simulate talk shows. I worry about my broadcasting brothers and sisters in the music's part of it, because it is a talent. I've tried to do it. I'm terrible at it. I was in music radio for like 6 years. It is a talent to be able to come into a segment, to talk about what song that was, how's the weather, anything else going on around town. Here's a $1,000 prize alert, and then here's this upcoming song, and boom, 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 and hit it all, and have some kind of a rapport. I worry that those might get replaced by the fake people. And I think there's already
how smart can AI get? And I think it's unlimited is the answer.
Here's where I feel comfortable about this show. I think our show is entertaining because we're not smart. Like, if AI came in and was like, but they're like, that's too much. Can we dial back the intelligence a little bit? Can we get Justin back on there, talking about his Girl Scout cookie takes and his old school Pac-12 basketball affiliations? But yeah, for the time being, I think we're good, and I'm gonna crush you, AI. Come at me. I'll be like, Dwight Schrute versus the website. That's going to be this show. Well, this show is now over. Thanks to Curtis Rogers from 710 Seattle Sports. Thanks to super producer Brenden. Thanks to all of you. Enjoy OSAA Championship basketball from Chiles Center. It starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio.
Welcome to this broadcast of an OSAA On Point Community Credit Union State Championship event. Serving more than 539,000 members, On Point Community Credit Union is the largest locally headquartered credit union and is the proud title sponsor of OSAA State Championships. Your local Toyota dealers are proud to support the OSAA Toyota Let's Go Places.
Good morning from the Chiles Center in Portland, Oregon, and welcome to the OSAA Radio Network on 620 Rip City Radio. I am Sean Phillips and bringing you the 2024 OSAA On Point Community Credit Union 6A Basketball State Championships. This game features the 6A Boys Constellation semifinals as the Barlow Bruins out of the Mount Hood Conference taking on the Jesuit Crusaders coming out of the Metro League. When we come back, we will have the starting lineups for both teams and the opening tip-off from the Chiles Center. This is the OSAA Radio Network on 620 Rip City Radio.